We had to face a very challenging situation deriving from EU rules. Paying out depositors in a banking branch abroad using the deposit insurer abroad, meaning the so-called host DGS. That was totally new. We actually realized that no regulator could do that for us, because what was at stake was actually all our internal processes, meaning, of course, IT processes, payment process, communication process, cost, liabilities, claims, and so forth and so on.
I think it's how we were going to comply with the European Banking Authority guidelines, because we'd been doing a lot of work and then the guidelines came out, so it's trying to match those two things together, merge them so that we have the most effective agreement we can have in order that we can really make it work on an operational level, because that's what we bring to it. We bring as members of EFDI, everybody that's involved is a subject matter expert. They know about how to pay depositors and how to deal with a bank failure. And what we want to do is make sure that if there are guidelines written, they take our operational expertise into account so that we have the best outcome for depositors. Because that's all what we're trying to do. Everybody wants to make sure that people get their money as quickly as possible, whether it's a bank failure within your own country or whether it's a branch of a bank in another country.
I think the most challenging one was the very beginning, when it was about getting the whole process started. And, for example, how FD would be involved, the European Forum of Deposit Insurers, how we can set up all these organizational, technical things. So I think that was the most challenging one. Once you started the work, it gets easier and easier over the time.
Because whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, deposit insurance, at least for payout, is still a local business. Because you have to deal with local depositors for local branch with local products, using a local consumer law, using a local language, and so forth and so on. So payout is still a real local business.
It's been challenging because we do have to meet this directive requirement, but of course when you're dealing with numerous deposit guarantee schemes from the 28 member states, there are different ways of doing things. We all have our own rules, we all have our own systems and processes, so we needed to work out how we could actually affect a cross-border payout, how we could work together to have that common outcome.
And for my organization, it certainly is very important and valuable that we can bring our input into the various DGSs, the groups, the discussions, and make sure that our own conditions are being met. It's very difficult to afterwards try to change or amend a set agreement while being active, involved in this process is a huge advantage for our organization.
Well, in the legal subgroup, the most challenging factor is when 14 lawyers from 14 different jurisdictions are drafting at the same time. If we are asked to draft such a cooperation agreement during one night individually, it might be a quite easy task. But doing the same with 13 other people, 13 other lawyers, it's a really challenging job. But we seem to do it, so no problem.
The main goal is to secure, then transfer the amount, and of course to have the data in order to secure the procedures. The problem is, or the difficulty is, that the cooperation between different DGS with different size, you have to reconcile these different parties. And in financial situation and condition, it's not easy.
And the file and the data, which is how we're actually going to pay depositors, because let's remember that's what we're here to do. That's our job, to make sure people get their money back as quickly as they can. So coming up with a data format which enables us to do that, everything else is sort of attached to that. So I think that's probably the most satisfying outcome.
At the beginning, at the early start, we had a different discussion about for instance, the sharing of information, the data information. And I had to check with my lawyers, of course, at home, and they said, and even we checked with authorities regarding this. We have an own authority for data sharing, and they said we have to follow this and this directive from the EU. But it turned out many of the other countries didn't have the same interpretation. So we ended up discussing a lot just this one issue, and that is exactly my point. It took a lot longer than I would have expected, and there was a lot more discussions than I would have expected. But at the same time, these discussions are very fruitful because you learn so much. You learn so much about other countries, and in the end, I jumped to the goal now, but in the end we were supposed to have an agreement. And if we just had this agreement presented on a table, you would have learned a lot less. Now we know where the challenges are, cooperating with different countries regarding the cross-border payout. And we would never have learned so much if we hadn't been a part of the H2C group.
If you're working on with professionals on a really operational level of job, even the most tiny things can be very interesting, because another professional from another country see that very small thing totally differently or understand it totally differently. So that's why that kind of feature was probably the most interesting for me regarding this job, that we could arguing or talking about small things, how to do it, or what it really understand, or what it really mean, and that was just more like a cultural challenge for us, and cultural communications or cross-cultural communications, not even professional things.
Can you imagine people, we are on the same platform in the state station, and we have to stay the same train. This is the key of this project. We have to take the same train.
As a whole, diversity is not the issue. Diversity is reality. You cannot eliminate diversity. At the same time, you should not forget, you should not give up harmonization. So you have to find a way. You have to find a way to make them work together. And this is exactly what was so exciting about that initiative.
I think the cooperation is not easy, but is necessary. So work upon this.
After realizing the difficulties of this project and analyzing so many different really nightmare scenarios in different countries, different circumstances and everything, this handsome of people and professionals really realized what to do and how to do. And right now what we are working on is right now currently is how to regulate the to-dos what we already have.
Got representatives from so many different deposit guarantee schemes working together, and we have now got an agreement that I think we'll all be able to sign up to, and very importantly that the European Banking Authority, I hope, is also going to support. And that's really crucial for all of us, that we have now a multilateral agreement that EBA is happy with and that all the DGSs in the European Union are happy with.
What we have built here is something I believe has never been done before, because we have defined all the needed prescriptions on a technical and operational basis to ensure a full interoperability of all deposit insurers within the European Union and the economic European area, meaning more or less 40 deposit insurers or so.
Collaboration.
We did it.
I think that would be awesome.
In short, French wine and cheese after hard work.